A human being lives to solve problems. Whatever obstacle one meets in life, the challenge will be to surmount the problem. When Tinubu was declared by INEC, it became an obstacle because many are aware that he didn't win the election. In order to surmount the obstacle, people went to court to challenge the declaration. Now that the judges have done what they did, they've turned justice on its head, they became another obstacle. The petitioners have already appealed to the Supreme Court. At this stage, people are asking, what next? What if the next obstacle, which in this case, the Supreme Court, cannot be surmounted? Some are even asking, especially those outside Nigeria, if he can be impeached by the National Assembly to solve the problem because of all the information that's about to be released from the Chicago State University, from the FBI, a lot of things. So many people are suggesting if the court will not sack him, what about the National Assembly? Are they going to impeach him to save Nigeria from the disgrace? Apart from the fact that this National Assembly will never do that, going by the 1999 Constitution, he can only be impeached for what he did in office. That means whatever is revealed by the FBI in the 2,500 pages that they will release, it will never qualify for an impeachment. Let's take a look. Section 143 of the 1999 Constitution is the section that talks about the removal of the president. Subsection 2B says, stating that the holder of the office of president or vice president is guilty of gross misconduct in the performance of the functions of his office, detailed particulars of which shall be specified. So what is important here is gross misconduct in the performance of the functions of his office. It cannot be offenses committed before. And going further down to subsection 11, where it explains what gross misconduct means, it says, in this section, gross misconduct means a grave violation or breach of the provisions of this Constitution or a misconduct of such nature as amounts, in the opinion of the National Assembly, to gross misconduct. So this is the position of the law, although this National Assembly will never contemplate it, even if he were to commit something that will qualify as gross misconduct. But let's assume that they really want to help, that they want to do their job. But can any good thing ever come out from them? Looking at how the senators screened the ministerial nominees, some senators went as far as defending the nominees, asking their colleagues to just allow them to take a bow and leave, instead of asking them rigorous questions about how they will do their jobs when they are appointed ministers in their different ministries. Screening of ministerial nominees is supposed to be like a job interview, where the job seeker will face a panel from the company. They will ask him all sorts of questions to know if he can really do the job, if he is really competent. Compare that to what happened at the National Assembly. So the National Assembly members can actually do a better job if they want. They can pass resolutions to make the executive branch understand the direction people want them to follow, because they are representatives of the people. They are supposed to be communicating with the populace, especially this time that we know that things are really hard. A lot of people must be complaining to their representatives, hey, what are you guys doing? Are you people aware that the cost of living has risen? Are you aware of this? Are you aware of that? What are you doing about it? So they can use resolutions to keep the executive branch on their toes. This will force them to do the right thing. Looking at their handling of the economy so far, you can see that it's been one calamity after another calamity. Imagine running the economy based on trial and error.
Commodification of the naira, yes. Commodification of the naira, monetary policy, commodification of the naira, cassava, use cassava.
Looking at what is going on here, you can see how monetary policy decisions are made in Nigeria. Hangers-on and party members just throw whatever idea they have, and before you know it, it becomes policy. And the way this guy was shouting, you can see he's seeking for an appointment. He was kind of throwing his CV at him. If you can't hear me, look at me, see me, I'm knowledgeable, I can do this job. Anyway, let's not waste our time discussing his laughable idea. The thinking that it isn't necessary for a captain of a ship to know how to drive the ship, but rather the captain should rely on other people to help him drive the ship. So why is he the captain? This is the bane of Nigeria's problem. You have an incompetent person who can't do the job, but people will cover up for him and say he's a genius, that he can identify talent to work with. Why not make way for that talent to be the captain so that decisions can be made quickly? Imagine having someone that can do the job, is a professional, but they are saying this professional needs to work under someone who can't do the job. That the professional should take directions from someone who doesn't know the job. It's just like in many ministries in Nigeria today, you have people heading the ministries, they don't know the job, they are not professionals in the field, but they expect professionals to work under them. So people at the top will just be bosses over professionals. It doesn't work that way.
I'm not worried about the exchange rate because your salary should be in naira. And you are not an importer or exporter.
It's a pity what we are dealing with. He doesn't realize that someone who earns his salary in naira will still go to the market and buy something that was imported with dollars. This is basically what is driving inflation today. Merchants who import their products from abroad, they are not able to predict the exchange rate by the time they will make another order, because when the goods arrive in Nigeria, they will go to the ports and clear them, take it to their warehouse and start selling and start supplying to people. It might take 2 weeks or a month for the product to be sold, but remember that the merchant will not wait for the products to finish before ordering another one. So the fact that the exchange rate is not predictable, is not stable, the businessman will be forced to add an overhead cost, maybe 500 naira per unit, because he will not lose. He must push the difference to the consumer. So for his business to survive, he must increase his margins so that even if at the end of the day, the dollar exchanges for 1,200 naira per dollar, his business will still survive. He will not go under. So that's what is basically driving inflation. Most of the goods are imported from abroad and they have to exchange naira for dollar before making the transaction. It has become critical right now because many countries are rejecting letter of credit from Nigeria. Yes, we are seriously in deep problem. In fact, many importers are no longer importing right now. No one knows what is happening. Many people are living in droves. Professionals, they are selling their properties, selling their lands, whatever they have. They are selling them because they want to leave the country. Many people have lost hope that Nigeria has become irredeemable. People have tried to change their leaders through elections, which is the guaranteed way of doing it in a democracy. The establishment rigged the election. People have gone to the court of first instance to challenge the results of the election. So all these are pushing the naira to the extreme because there is heavy demand. It's just following the normal law of demand and supply. When more people are chasing few goods, there's a high chance that the price will increase. That's what is happening. Now that we know that the exchange rate is driving inflation in Nigeria, how do you solve the problem? Because a problem identified is a problem already solved, because the fact that you're able to know that this is a problem will force you to start seeking solutions. The first thing they can do that will yield serious results in a few months is to at least go back to that thing, that product that Nigeria sells that makes us to earn dollars in huge quantity. Because if you inject more dollars, you can drive the exchange rate down a bit, but it will not be a lasting solution. The only lasting solution is when you cut off most of the demand. When you drive the demand to very low, that will be the time the exchange rate will stabilize. How do you do that? Let's start from the Nigerian product that can actually earn us more dollars in the short term. The reason Nigeria isn't pumping enough crude oil, we are not actually meeting our OPEC quota for the moment, is because of insecurity and oil theft in the Niger Delta. So it's very easy to solve. If you solve the security issues around the Niger Delta, you can pump to your full capacity. Yes. And while you're pumping to your full capacity and selling to others, you try and sell locally. You need to try and refine petrol locally. because Nigerians paying 1,000 naira per liter for diesel is outrageous. No foreign country, even the ones that are not oil producers, they don't pay as high as $1 per liter for diesel. This is the problem. You don't expect haulage companies or logistic companies to pay as high as 1,000 naira per liter for diesel, and they won't push that cost to the consumer. These are all the things that drive inflation. Nothing is stable. How are they going to solve it? It's very simple. Invest heavily into modular refineries, 10,000 capacities, 15,000 capacities. Just install several of them around the Niger Delta and sell the crude oil to them at maybe 20,000 or 25,000 naira per barrel. Yes, you have to sell it to them in naira, not dollars, because it's actually our own product. Why will you sell to them in dollars? Dollars is not our currency. So when they refine it locally at that 25,000 naira per barrel, you can now have cheap fuel to drive our economy. We have an energy crisis in Nigeria, and you're still adding high cost of petrol on top of it. You don't want people to move around. Well, it's not surprising. One of them just claimed the fact that people no longer drive their cars. That is an achievement, that they succeeded in saving the environment while driving your economy deep into the abyss. Refining our petrol locally will not only create the needed employment for our people, it will reduce the demand for dollars in Nigeria because fuel consumption is actually very high. In order to import them and provide that employment for the countries where they import those fuels from, they have to buy dollars in Nigeria. If they can't buy it from the central bank, they will have to resort to the black market. So this is not rocket science. Why is it difficult for people to implement? Thanks for watching.